Good afternoon. I think everybody's accounted for, so I'd go ahead and get us started. This is the fourth negotiations meeting between the GNEA and Board of Education. Thank everyone for coming in. I hope they're enjoying their summer break already. But again, appreciate the time to come in this afternoon. Start by thanking Deb Starling for her support and Tony Coppola on the technology for his support. And I'll quickly go around the room and introduce who's here. Got Robbie Smith from Sunflower, Angela Hansen from Pioneer Ridge, Mandy Taylor from Trail Ridge, Bev Furlong, Sunflower, Leslie Ron, the high school, Denise Russello, Trail Ridge, Brian Huff, district office, Bruce Haber, Nike, Tom Redden, board president, Lana Sutton, board vice president, Amy Drogmeyer, district office. We got Renee Nonamaker observing, Linda Seek from KNEA observing, and Mark Meyer from the district office observing. Yep.
Nike, not Sunflower. It's okay though.
That's true. How did I miss that?
I don't know.
Robbie, we have a we're working on a transfer, Robbie. That's right.
Sunflower, they actually on the high school, so okay.
All those troublemakers at Sunflower.
I'm telling you, there you go.
Okay, once again, lost control in the first 2 minutes. Okay, well, I had shared the agenda with both teams earlier, I think this weekend, and it's pretty straightforward. I would like to pause before we get into the remaining items and have Amy give a brief budget update. We became aware of some stuff related to the LOB and SPED funding, so I'm going to turn it over to Amy real quick.
So shortly after we met last time, we had our meeting with KSDE, our weekly meeting, and I asked again, like a pesky gnat, if the new SPED money would be accountable to the LOB when we calculate the LOB. The first time I got the answer, oh, we don't know. The second time I got the answer was, yes, it should, and we will let you know that when we get to our budget workshop, but we are calculating that to be about another $340,000 that we are expecting to be part of the revenue. So we knew it was a possibility, but until they said yes, we didn't ever want to put that on the table. So we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. So it's good news.
Thank you, Amy. I think everyone will recall that we left the last meeting with a comp offer proposed by the Board of Ed. And there were a few other loose ends, but that was primarily the stopping point. So unless there are any other questions, concerns, or requests, I would think that this would naturally flow back to GNEA and you guys could provide a response. Does that make sense? You guys need any copies made or anything? Okay. Okay, is there some, can you send it to me or do you want me to log out? Okay. I forget how I freeze my screen, so when I go into my emails, people can't see all my
I
emails.
switched it off too.
Well, I just.
Just freeze should do it.
Yeah, but it's like, so it's just a slideshow.
Freeze on here.
I know, you guys are gonna have to email it to me so I can pull it up, and I don't want everybody to see all my emails. They're generally speaking harmless, but
Freeze, there you go. So now if you,
just, go ahead.
right there's freeze.
Okay.
Press it again.
Okay, let's see if I can follow through on Tony's instructions. Is that what we're looking for?
That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
All right, so GNA would like to start off with agreeing to the $500 added to the related service provider stipend that you offered. We would like to change the wording on the flex day. You had identified, we would like to change it to a minimum of 2.5 flex days instead of identified. Yep. And then, sorry, do you need it back?
No, but do you have the handout on that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
Do
you're
you
good.
need this?
Nope,
Okay.
I'm good.
Thank you.
And then for extra duty, we would like to do an increase to all groups by $5. Groups 1 through, I think it's 5. Per hour? Yes. Yep.
I guess we can kind of assume inflation, and what's the rationale for 5 for every category?
The rationale behind that would be the fact that currently, as you can see, the number of emails that go out where they are having a hard time getting things to be supervised for different activities throughout the school year. And also lunch duty has become a hard job to fill as well, as in people are, for the $6 in the lunch, they're not wanting to do it for $6 in the lunch. So we thought it would just be easier to go across the board and just add $5. Also, when you compare the extra duty rates that the surrounding districts are doing for other individuals, that would get us more into what they are currently providing for their extra duty rates as well. So that would be the reason and rationale behind it.
Okay, are you up, Leslie? Is it Angela? Yep.
All right, so on this graph here, what we did is we took the offer that you all provided us at our last meeting, and the following schools below have already settled. And so as you can see with your 1250 offer, we are significantly lower than the other districts that currently have settled. They have not all settled yet, but the comparison can show you where DeSoto, KCK, Olathe, Shawnee Mission, and Turner are with the offer that they've settled upon compared to the offer that you provided us. The next slide shows you the compensation by districts. So they're all adding a step and a column just like what we were doing, and what the average increase would have been for each of those other districts and what our average increase would be as well. On the next slide here, we thought it would be worth noting that when you look in comparison to our negotiations over the last, from 2021 to present day, we were at 43,250, and then there was an 850 increase. And then you can see on those other 2 years here, those were the 2 years where we actually were provided a stipend and nothing was added to the base, which once again, people did receive an increase, but the difference is that it wasn't added to the base, which then puts us then further behind everybody else that we're competing with to actually get employees here into the district. Last year, the generous offers of the $2,000 got us up to speed, but still, once again, we are significantly lower than everybody else, as you can see from the comparison that I had before. So our counter offer to your all's offer is to put $2,500 on the base. That's the other slide. There you go. By putting the $2,500 on the base, comparing to those who've already settled here, you would see that currently we would just be $100 more than Olathe, and then the difference in significance of what we would be compared to the other surrounding districts that have actually settled at this point in time. So that's what I've got on that part. And then we got one more slide for you.
So we were talking about wellness days last time. We'd like to counter with an addition of one more wellness day for a total of 2 per employee per year. And we would also like to add wording to the negotiated agreement. We took a first try at it. This will be the 3rd, I think, year that we'll have the wellness days in our district, and we would just like to add that to our negotiated agreement. And I have a summary of all of these, if you would like that.
Yeah, I'll grab one of those for you too.
Well, I think obviously we will need to probably caucus and discuss this, but before we do that, does anyone on the BOE team have any immediate questions? Get some clarification before we break.
On the extra duty, adding the $5 to each corresponding group, do you have the information from the other districts of what they're paying? I tried to pull that information from their negotiated agreement. So are there updates that have been made in some of those that were already settled that we're not aware of? Okay.
I don't have what they settled on.
Okay.
I just know historically, we are behind them in that particular, like last year, we would have been behind what they were in those areas.
Okay.
But as in what they,
So you don't have it written down anymore. Okay. Just making sure. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Just checking. Thank you.
Any other questions? So on the flex days, I think our proposal had 3.5 days. It had the day before fall conferences. It had the November date. It had a half day before winter break, and it had a day before spring break. It's listed in the proposal that we presented.
Is it on? Okay. Is that day in November, I know it's a contract swap day, but is it really a flex day? Does it fall under the same parameters as the other flex days?
It's basically, it is different, but it's included so people know that if they meet the requirement of getting the PD day on another non-contract day, they don't have to show up. I mean, I think we're, having you describe it like that, Bev, I think we're all on the same page. So I just wanted to make sure.
Okay,
we
then we
were.
probably need to, I don't think we counted that day as a flex day.
'Kay.
Because it doesn't have the same level of flexibility, but I think we can change our wording if we need to.
Okay, I think we're on the same page there. Okay, no other questions? All right, why don't you give us 20 minutes, please? We'll return at 4:35-ish. Okay, I think we're all back, so we'll get started. First of all, I want to thank GNA for your responses. I think it does speak to all the things that we felt like were still outstanding issues, so we're grateful for that. I think in light of everything you've shared, it was pretty comprehensive. We're going to need to consider it offline and likely visit with the entire board in executive session Monday night so that we can, inform them and get some feedback from them as it relates to the comp offer in particular. Again, we're grateful for what you've shared to this point. A little bit of foreshadowing here. I'd like to think we can figure out something for the related service providers. Flex days, again, this isn't our official position. I'm not sure we're comfortable with a set number. We would argue that that's really comes before calendar committee every year. There's an opportunity as representatives from each building to help us determine calendar, and that really is going to drive flex days, how many and where they land. And feel like you guys have a voice in that, and it's a very positive and productive process. So flex days, I think there's something we can figure out and even add some for next year, but dropping a set number in the negotiated agreement for us feels counterproductive. So that's where we're leaning right now on that one. Extra duty, I guess I'd say your proposal is ambitious. We do have the rates from the other districts. So we feel like, at least as current as last year, we're fairly competitive. We kicked around some ideas that might increase a few of them in certain areas. So we'll have a counter proposal for that. But we do feel like the $5 is pretty ambitious. Wellness days. Not sure we want to add that into the negotiated agreement either. Again, our stance has been, especially with things like flex days, we're trying to be more flexible, if you will, trying to provide more days off. Snow days always comes up. There's just a number of things that I feel like, even though we've been a little bit resistant to adding discretionary days or even this wellness day proposal, we've provided additional opportunities for folks to have time off. So we'll respond to that, but still not sure that we want to put that in the negotiated agreement. Comp offer, clearly understand your proposal. We will say we appreciate you showing the historic data from the last 3 or 4 years. And I think our response to that is we would point out that we put almost all the new money into compensation. So, and I know you guys acknowledge that as well. And I feel like that's a reflection of this process working very well for our employees. So as much as maybe we didn't give in a certain year as much as another district or whatever, I feel like GNA and the Board of Ed came together and we did as much good as we could with the new money. And that's going to be our approach this year. Having said that, and we'll share a little bit more of this when we respond after talking to the board, we've got well over $1 million in positions that are being requested. And that speaks to work conditions. And we know that's important as well, and we want to do everything we can to make sure we're constantly improving work conditions for you guys on the front line. So again, just a little foreshadowing, that's going to factor into how we respond to your comp offer. But we feel like we're in a good place, and we appreciate, again, all that you've shared with us today. So at this point, unless anybody else on either team would like to share, has questions, wants clarification, we can talk about when would be the best time to have the next meeting.
Yeah, I just had one comment about the flex day part that we were talking about last time. Last time we brought up the idea that how middle and high school teachers get that flex day for the day before Thanksgiving break was a little bit muddy. So I think we were talking about how we could maybe open that up to be a little bit more general, and we had a good discussion at the table, and I think the discussion then ended with our agreeing to, fine, we'll leave it the way that it is for now. We'll make it contingent upon teachers either doing FastBridge training over the summer or the Greenbush training, with the added clarification to teachers that would maybe fall under. So those teachers who didn't necessarily have to do FastBridge training, clarify that information. And I think we even discussed maybe adding it to the checkout process. Now, I do realize that this was the week before the checkout process. But just as an FYI, that information, at least in the high school, was clarified during the last day of school. It was at our 12:30 celebration for teachers who were leaving the school. And in that clarification, an entire new group of people were added to the people who would qualify for training for FastBridge. So it was no longer math and reading teachers, math and English teachers, it was an entirely new group of people, which I don't know that it did the goal of clarifying who qualified for that. So seeing as it was something that we talked about at the table, and seeing as we're now in the summer, I'm wondering if it might be something worthwhile to send out something to staff again over the summer about how to get that day before Thanksgiving as a flex day, or how to meet that requirement for that professional development, either the FastBridge training or the Greenbush training. Because I can tell you, I think that there are a number of people at the high school that are still confused. I'm a science teacher, I now have to do FastBridge training, right? So that's something I wasn't anticipating having to do, but now I have to do it. And it was the last day of school at our celebration. I'm not really confident that that information is going to be understood. So, yeah.
I think the biggest
Do your mic.
Put it there just for you, Angela.
I thank you. I think the biggest part is that what we're trying to avoid is that come November, when all these other people don't have to show up and these other people are like, what do you mean? I didn't know I could do that. And once again, I know that you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. I understand that. But there was no clarification at the middle schools at all. I mean, I heard about the high school, but I mean, we didn't get anything about that says, hey, just for clarification purposes, da-da-da-da-da. So I'm just saying that, and our group's consensus is that the elementary, they think they have a good hold on what's actually being asked of them and what's expected. But I'm not sure that that's going to be 5 through 12. And so we just want to try to avoid anybody going, well, I didn't get that opportunity. I wish I would have known, and blah, 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 blah. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, and I think we have a common goal, guys. We can definitely blast the message out again, provide more specifics, and do it over and over again. And we've talked many times over as a district office, particularly in ed services, about granting a lot of grace. When we get to September, October, we want to be taking inventory who is still hanging, and if they've got a legitimate reason, or even if it's a middle of the road reason, we're going to figure something out. If they truly had in their mind they were taking that Tuesday off. So, but we can start hitting them with messages now. We can. Oh, okay. All right. I'd like to propose that we have our next meeting as soon as possible after the board meeting. I know we're getting into June and folks are making family plans and going their separate ways, but can we look at the week, next week? I don't know if that Wednesday works. Oh, yep. I like it, Debs. Just show up. Work from 4 to 6. Okay. So bad idea.
Monday the 10th. Wide open.
I'm open. we'll cover for Deb. Anybody else? Conflicts? Yeah, I think that that's what the board members need. So Monday the 10th, 4 o'clock? Okay. Well, appreciate everybody's time and input. Jeannie, if you need anything, data, anything that we can share ahead of time, let us know. Otherwise, we'll get down to business on the 10th. Thanks so much.